The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro, bringing you the biggest headlines from around the world. The Israel-Hamas conflict death toll jumps to over 1,500. In Israel, at least 900 people were killed and some 2,600 were injured following Hamas's rampage in the southern district. Tel Aviv has since called up an unprecedented 300,000 reservists and imposed a total blockade of the Gaza Strip. Human Rights Watch denounced this move and called it a war crime. Israel also bombarded Gaza with bombs, killing nearly 700 Palestinians and wounding 2,600 more. Hamas then warned that it would execute an Israeli captive for every Israeli bombing of a civilian house without warning. Despite recent developments, a senior Hamas official said the group is open to discussions over a possible truce with Israel. Reuters reports that Musa Abu Marzouk told Al Jazeera that they are open to all political dialogues, having, quote, achieved its targets. Meanwhile, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan urged Israel to stop bombing Palestinian lands and Palestine to stop harassing Israeli civilian settlements. Erdogan claimed Turkey is ready to mediate between Israelis and Palestinians on all areas. He also mentioned that Ankara would intensify diplomatic efforts to stop the fighting and that Turkey is now preparing humanitarian aid for Gaza.
İsrail yönetiminden Gazze başta olmak üzere Filistin topraklarına yönelik bombardımanlarını, Filistinlilerden de İsrail'deki sivil yerleşimlere yönelik tacizlerini durdurmalarını istiyoruz. Türkiye olarak tarafların talep etmesi halinde esir takası dahil her türlü arabuluculuğa hazır olduğumuzu belirtmek isterim.
Several nations condemned the attacks on Israel by Islamist militant group Hamas. In a joint statement, the U.S., Germany, Britain, France, and Italy expressed their steadfast and united support for Israel. The nations also emphasized that any party hostile to Israel should not exploit the attacks to seek advantage. The leaders of the said countries say there is, quote, no justification for the terrorist actions of Hamas. The countries also recognize the legitimacy of the aspirations of the Palestinian people, but clarified that Hamas does not represent those aspirations and that the group offers nothing but more terror and bloodshed. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now World. I'm Jago Castro. Chinese President Xi Jinping says Beijing and the U.S. should respect each other and collaborate. She explained that China and the U.S. economies are deeply integrated and can benefit from each other's development. She made the remarks during a meeting with a U.S. congressional delegation led by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer in Beijing. Schumer also met with senior Chinese officials, including Zhao Leji, chairman of China's National People's Congress. Schumer was leading a rare bipartisan congressional delegation on a trip to Asia, which also includes stops in South Korea and Japan. The Spanish Coast Guard rescued 425 migrants overnight off the Canary Islands archipelago. 2 boats carrying 199 of those migrants were brought to a port in the island of Tenerife. Others were taken to a port in Gran Canaria. The Canary Islands archipelago is struggling with the recent rise of arrival of migrants. Migrant arrivals by sea to Spain have increased by a fifth so far this year compared to the same period in 2022. A female economic historian bagged the Nobel Prize for Economics for her gender gap studies. Harvard professor Claudia Golden won the prize for her work exposing the causes of deeply rooted wage and labor market inequality between men and women. The award-giving body says Golden provided the first comprehensive account of women's earnings and labor market participation throughout the centuries. Golden says historian began looking at women's participation in the labor force because they represented a change in the status quo.
America runs on women. And we noticed that during the pandemic, when women were being pulled back into the home because of their work and because of childcare, it's pretty clear that their own productivity went down. Their labor force participation, by the way, did not. And that is what has given rise to that question, that in fact we see the most amazing thing, which is an increase, and that may be due to the fact that with a continuation of remote work.
And those are the top world headlines of the hour. Join us again at 9:45 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Jago Castro. We are One News, all sides, all the time.